Called him the enforcer, Frank Nitti, Al Capone's hand-picked successor. He didn't just inherit the Chicago outfit. He ran it like a machine, quiet, deadly, businesslike, very much like Johnny Torero. In this new age of mafiosos, business was the name of the game, instead of just blowing each other's heads off. But in the end, Frank Nitti didn't go down in a hail of bullets. He turned the gun on himself. Let's start over. This is the story of Frank Nitti's downfall. When Al Capone went down in 1931 for tax evasion, it wasn't clear who would take the reins or fill his shoes. He did have big feet. But by 1932, one name stood out, Frank Nitti. He wasn't a trigger-happy street thug. He was a businessman, a smooth operator. He knew how to move money, liquor, booze, whatever, like chess pieces. And that's where his empire expanded into Hollywood. Labor racketeering, union muscle. If a studio didn't pay up, their movie set stopped dead. Profits were flowing, but so was the risk. By the 1930s, the Chicago outfit's fingerprints were all over the film industry. Frank Nitti's plan was to use union control to shake down studios. Fox, MGM, you name it. But Nitti made two fatal mistakes. One, he put his trust in the wrong man named Willie Byoff. I don't know if I got that right. A flashy extortionist who flipped when the feds caught him. Two, he was personally connected to the scam. When the indictments came down in 43, the FBI had enough to nail everybody. Rica, Campanga, Rossili, and Nitti. Yes, you can roast me in the comments. I'm sorry, some of these are a little difficult to pronounce, I'm sorry. But the reason wasn't just a fear for Nitti. The outfit's leadership. They met at Nitti's house. They did not mince words. Paul Ricca pointed the finger straight at Frank. Listen, this was your operation. You guys ratted, you're taking the fall. You, not me, you. Nitti had two problems. One was that he was claustrophobic, being deeply scarred by his 15-month prison stint back in the 30s. And secondly, he might have been dying of cancer. But a rumor, it might explain his state of mind. He was abandoned and worse, cornered by the very men he led. By March 19th, 1943, Frank Nitti had breakfast with his wife. He said, I'm going for a walk. She decides to go to church. He's drunk alone and with a revolver in his coat. He stumbles towards a train yard in North Riverside. Rail workers spot him on the tracks, shouting for him to get clear. He ignores them. 3 gunshots echo. The first 2 miss his skull. The final one buries behind his right ear. Frank Nitti is dead, age 57, blood alcohol, 0.23, official ruling, suicide while temporarily insane. Nitti was buried at Mount Carmel Cemetery, not far from Capone, but his death wasn't mourned in the outfit, it was cleanup. Ricca took full control, the outfit rolled on. The charges stuck, but without Nitti in the courtroom, the feds had one last target. One last boss to grow one last man flip. Frank Nitti died not as a martyr, not as a gangster legend, but as a liability who cashed out before the house of cards fell on him. Frank Nitti ruled with brains, not bullets, but in the end, the weight of his own racket crushed him. He was not taken out by the cops, the feds, or a rival. He was taken out by the only man who could destroy him, himself. If you want more stories of the real mob, not the movie version, subscribe and hit that bell. This is the Commission Report. Stay tuned.